Hey guys, Jared here from Mediover. I'm here with Jennifer.
Hey.
And today we're talking about one of probably my personal favorite Star Wars stories. Um, we're talking about Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. Um, Timothy Zahn books, they tend to have multiple editions of them. Kind of the best Star Wars stories, and his are usually the best, in my opinion. I know other people's favorites. I have like James Luceno, and I also believe that Claudia Gray is also a great one.
And
Well,
I have no opinion because I've never read any Star Wars books.
that's why I'm here. I'm going to explain to you the story today. I've actually read both when it comes to the Thrawn novel. I read both the novel itself as well as the comic version. I gotta say the novel's better. There's more detail in the novel than the comic, but I'm using the comic just kind of as a reference sheet so I don't forget anything. And it's basically a summary. That's all it is. Kind of.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you always have to condense for a comic, whereas in a book you can explore a character's feelings more.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we'll jump into it. And spoiler alerts um, if you haven't read Thrawn, I recommend that you do. And then just come back here later and watch this video to hear what jokes we make out about it. So the story starts off on an Imperial patrol exploring a camp. Um, the camp has crates all over it with unfamiliar writing. It looks like the camp's been there for a while, and there's only one person staying at this camp. And so this Imperial garrison is um, it goes through and they kind of um, they're trying to figure out what's going on because of what they call ridiculous um, Senate requirements. And there's actually only one person in part of the Imperials that recognize the writing and able to read some of it and make some of it out. Cadet Eli Vanto. Actually, that was good timing because the picture just popped up on the screen. So I have a little bit of a cold. But then on the outskirts, like the Empire is doing patrols to protect the base camp, trying to see who's staying here. And they're just kind of course, with the title being Thrawn, we know that Thrawn's doing this to the Imperials. He's kind of just trolling them. Somehow he's able to make a V-wing crash. He pulls out the pilot and stuffs it with basically kills the pilot, stuffs it with hay, starts using like woodland creatures to come and make things explode inside the base.
Wow.
And yeah, there's woodland creatures attached with explosives attached to them, and using berries to control where they go. And
Seems overly complicated, but
it's overly complicated. Yeah, so he for example, he stuffs the pilot out uniform with berries, and uses that attracts the woodland creatures that has explosives attached to them, causing things to blow up in the base, and just killing Imperials left and right, stealing comlinks, just messing with them. And just eventually he was able to steal a stormtrooper's armor. So. And he actually uses it as a sneak upon the Star Destroyer that the Empire retreats to. The thing is, though, the comic shows... The book says V-Wings and it also says Stormtroopers, but they also have Phase 2 clone troopers in the book. But according to most timelines, Thrawn takes place just before the TV show Rebels. So it's kind of a little fuzzy where these are actually supposed to take place. Personally, I believe that this book takes place almost immediately after Revenge of the Sith. And the years following up leads him to the show Rebels.
yeah.
I'll get into Rebels later on. Just try to remind it. So he gets caught on board the ship, and it turns out that so Thrawn knows the language Cybesti. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It's Star Wars after all, and it's only written down. I guess I could listen to the audiobook, but I'm not into audiobooks that much. And Eli Vantos is able to communicate with him, even though that Thrawn, he can't speak basic. He kind of refuses to, but the Emperor force him, and Eli kind of becomes a translator for the words that Thrawn doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he's only a cadet at this point. He's not a full. He doesn't have an officer. He's still in school.
Yeah.
So Eli gets assigned Thrawn to be his translator, teach him in basic, and basically be an assistant to him for now. Of course, the captain of the ship, he wants to take Thrawn back as a trophy to promote himself, and he actually he requests a audience with the Emperor. And to be fair, that's kind of the thing is, like, if you want to see the Emperor, that's probably not a good idea.
I know, and catching one alien guy that was messing with you does not seem like a good thing to bother the Emperor about.
Well, he does it for whatever reason. So they do actually get an audience with the Emperor.
Oh boy.
And Eli's just terrified. He's just a cadet. He shouldn't be there. He's not higher up, and he's meeting the Emperor. Not to mention, he's a Sith Lord, so which they don't know that.
Yeah, that would be terrifying in any circumstance.
So, Thrawn starts talking to the Emperor, and Thrawn says that he's there to learn about the Empire, basically. And in return for learning about the Empire, he will volunteer.
Huh. And the Emperor just goes for that?
Well, he says, like, why do I need you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and let's see, I can read this here. Basically, Palpatine's questioning his allegiance to the Emperor, of course, because he wants loyal followers. And Thrawn goes like, if I were to serve the Empire, you would command my allegiance. It's like, how can I guarantee your allegiance? My guarantee is my word is my guarantee, perhaps. Your servant can speak on the strength of that vow. Huh. And it's like, Palpatine's like, my servant? Or my servant. Perhaps I incorrectly then assumed that he was your servant. Yeah, he always spoke highly of the Chancellor Palpatine. And it's like, that name is Anakin Skywalker.
Huh. Wow.
So, at some time point in the past, we learned that Anakin met Grand Admiral Thrawn. And we learned that he did this during the Clone Wars. Yeah. And this, for me, this is the most interesting part about it. It's like, it's only chapter 2.
That is a really interesting thing, because I'm sure not many people know Luke Skywalker's still around.
Timothy Zahn's next...
Or Anakin, not Luke.
Yeah. Well, Timothy Zahn's next book goes into basically that adventure. Mm-hmm. I had a fan theory about it, and it was somewhat right. But I think the overall story got changed for the new canon. Then Palpatine asks his name, and I'm sorry, but this name is meant to be impossible for humans to pronounce. Nithron Nord Maradu. Yeah, so. So Palpatine is intrigued, of course, because Anakin actually did tell him about Thrawn here. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, it's you. So Palpatine tells Thrawn that Anakin didn't survive the war. And it's like, Thrawn's like, my condolences, etc. Perhaps I could fill his place. And of course, Eli. This entire story is told from Eli's perspective, and he's just kind of freaking out. He knew General Skywalker because Anakin is the only Jedi that was ever praised as a hero of the Republic.
That's right, because, after Order 66, they would have to slander all the Jedi to excuse why they killed them all.
Yeah. One thing also I didn't explain about Eli, the reason that he's able to talk to Thrawn in his language and stuff like that, because he's from the Outer Rim, like on the outskirts of it, and so it kind of implies that he's supposed to have like a southern accent. So, yeah. So basically, they talk, and Thrawn gets actually into the Imperial Academy. On Coruscant there, and Eli gets sent with him as translator. And Eli, he's really upset about this because all he was supposed to go into the cargo shipping parts of the Empire. That's what he was aiming for, and now he's with the elite.
Yeah.
He's with the elite, the Coruscant, which is supposed to be like, okay, if your dad's a general, you probably go to the Coruscant Academy type thing.
Wow.
Meanwhile, he's from some backwater world. Thrawn's from the unknown region, so they're basically anyway. So they get sent to Coruscant. Get to Coruscant, and I just say the headmaster of this Imperial Academy there is not happy to see Thrawn. He's also an alien, and a lot of the Empire is racist towards aliens, particularly because so many aliens were with the Separatists during the Clone Wars. So, yeah, they go into that, and the Thrawn gets made a lieutenant right off the bat. Basically, it's supposed to be, and they read this like this is supposed to be a test to see
if he can handle it.
Well, it's so much pressure on him. But the thing is, Thrawn doesn't put the lieutenant plaque on his uniform.
What does he do with it?
He just puts it in his pocket for now. Because it's supposed to be used a weapon at him.
Yeah.
He's going to turn to a weapon towards everybody else who attacks him.
Oh, it's like you attacked the lieutenant.
He will, so. Well, the thing is, they'll be making fun of it if they knew if he's the lieutenant. Yeah. But now he can, if you keep it a secret, he has a trick up his sleeve now.
Yeah.
So basically, they go through different Imperial classes. They only have like a few months to actually complete everything on the deadline that Palpatine set up for them. But then one night they get invited to a lab from a bunch of other students, and
oh, that's gotta be a trap.
It's a trap.
Of course, it's a trap.
It's always a trap.
They were gonna play a game of cards. So they're just talking, and like basically they start asking, like, how would you deal with certain situations? Basically, it's basically it's kind of cryptic in this point, because they start talking about what would you do like as a military officer if just kind of like when it comes to the military and bluffing.
Mm-hmm.
And but Thrawn, like during this game, he wins the game right off the bat, and then he immediately pins on his lieutenant's pin. Everybody's shocked. And then right after he pins it on properly, one of the teachers comes in to get them in trouble. And Thrawn's just like, these two, they're here for this lab experiment. They're just waiting on it, so they're starting, playing cards. Me, I'm a lieutenant. I'm allowed to be here. Everyone's like, Eli, he's my translator, so he has to stick with me.
Yeah.
And so nobody gets in trouble.
Wow.
So the lab students, they were planning to get them in trouble because they weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the lieutenant's plaque, he could have pulled that trick. So he got the teacher off guard, and the teacher had no clue what to do. So he just let everything go. And so Thrawn and Eli start heading back to their barracks, and they get attacked. Thrawn puts Eli into the bushes, and Thrawn takes on a bunch of hooded figures you can't see the face of. Starts attacking. Eli is kind of confused at first, but then he takes a bunch of gravel and just throws it into the attackers' faces. giving Thrawn the opportunity to take them down, and they eventually retreat. At this point, a bunch of other cadets start running out. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And they run off. Of course, with Thrawn and Eli being attacked, they have to go talk to the principal now. And he's upset about it because he actually knows who the attackers are.
Really? How did he know?
Security.
Yeah.
Which is kind of stupid on their part. But Thrawn, he convinces the principal, don't expel them because their parents are obviously really high up, and the principal will get in trouble from these higher up generals, etc.
Yeah.
And he knows that the principal's in their pocket because of a painting that's on the wall. The painting's too nice for the headmaster to afford.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's most likely a gift from one of the higher ups.
Yeah.
Just based off the artwork and decoration around the room. So he convinces them, like, transfer them to, I can't remember the name of the school, but basically the TIE Fighter Pilots Academy.
Oh.
Now, this part I do find kind of weird, leaving the story a little bit, because this is the Coruscant Imperial Academy. In other stories, they have stories that take place here, or they at least go there for part of the story. Usually the first part of it, when it comes to Imperial career stories.
Yeah.
There is a pilot academy at the school, according to other books. So I just find it kind of odd. And this is both Disney's canon. Now, for my head canon, this story takes place a lot earlier than the other ones where they have the pilots program.
Yeah.
So maybe I think the pilots program was added later on. So that's just my head canon. So he was able to get the people who attack him to go to basically the pilot school.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 months later, after this attack, they're graduating and they're getting their first jobs in the Empire.
Huzzah.
Yeah, so Thrawn is being put onto a ship. I cannot remember the class of the ship, but it's basically in Star Wars Rebels is the one. It's very common you see there. It's kind of a boxy shape. Here's a picture of it for you, but
Okay.
sorry, audience, you don't get to see it. Look it up later. You can. It's actually a Gazanti class, so you can look up that. So I'm not going to show you a picture. But Eli gets put on the ship too, as a helper to Thrawn and translator, and he's really upset about this. Now he's off his track of being in shipping because it's supposed to be an easy, laid-back job. You won't have to worry about it.
That's true.
But eventually, during this for the first part of Thrawn's career on the ship, he started building a collection of Clone Wars stuff. He gets hyperspace rings that the Jedi use on their Jedi Starfighters to jump across space. You see that in Revenge of the Sith. He gets a droideka, the ball force field one, and he also gets buzz droids.
Which ones were those?
Those are the one you remember in Revenge of the Sith, the ones again on Obi-Wan's.
Oh yeah, those little things.
Yeah, they
super annoying.
Yeah, so he gets several of those. Eventually, the captain of the ship gets removed, and they exchange. Basically, they get a new captain. Captain's not happy about the stuff.
Yeah.
But Thrawn tells them that the shells of the buzz droids, they're Mark 1. And the Mark 1 buzz droids, their shells are made out of dunium, which is a very valuable substance right now. For some reason, over the last several years, the prices of dunium have been skyrocketing. And that's kind of an understatement of how expensive they're getting. Spoiler alert, dunium is a material that they use in the Death Star construction, so hence why it's been skyrocketing. The Empire's been buying it all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he's able to convince them, like, hey, that's just made out of dunium. You should keep it for now, and you can make a profit off later, because everything on the ship is yours.
Yeah.
So Thrawn gets a little bit of time longer, at least with his collection, that he can continue messing with this stuff.
Yeah.
eventually, so they get Thrawn come very soon afterwards. They get their first taste of action. They go to so a month later, they get a distress signal from a freighter ship, and they're not able to get any readings of it. So Thrawn and a task party are sent over to go investigate, of course, because the ship is supposed to be carrying what's it called? It's carrying fuel, very valuable fuel resources, I believe, and so on the ship they find one survivor. He's basically freaking out and just kind of worried. He's worried. He's freaking out. It's just like he claims that he's a member of the crew and he hid and he was able to survive. The rest of the crew was taken. He doesn't know where they've been taken to.
Mm-hmm.
He says that there's a reactor leak in this one area, so don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like, okay, your job is to basically get the fuel, try to get into it because it's been locked down. Not even the Empire's override codes can get into it or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So Thrawn brings over his buzz droid. And they're going to use the buzz droid to cut into the area and from the hull. And then all the pirates pop out again. They were stowaway on the ship, and it turns out they get
in the area that it was a supposed reactor leak.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. You never trust the lone survivor.
Well, that one survivor, turns out he's the leader.
Oh. Of course he is.
And Thrawn suspected that much, so he surrenders his crew. Him and the stormtroopers. The captain takes off to go deal with some other mission. Prior to this, I forgot to mention that. And so, the Empire gets taken. They take prisoner. They get locked up with the actual prisoners, the ones that were captured.
Yeah.
And Thrawn is just like, okay, let's escape now. So he on the back of his plate, or his name, or his lieutenant's plaque, he actually put a tracking device for the buzz droid to follow. So the buzz droid comes to cuts them out of the prison.
Clever.
Yeah, and they basically start fighting the pirates. A lot of them are locked off from each other. Of course, Thrawn ends up losing the ship because they actually transferred them to a different ship that the fuel was on. So they lost the fuel.
Oh, yeah.
The valuable cargo. And Thrawn gets scorned for it because their new captain is all about the riches, and that's how. So.
Yeah.
So Thrawn has to wait basically at the nearby Imperial base to get sent to Coruscant for trial.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, he's able to convince the head of the base to let him interrogate the 3 prisoners they were able to get of the pirates. Thrawn was able to figure out, though, that the 3 prisoners, or the 3 pirates, are part of a... they're part of a... they're members of a pirate group that used to be part of some pirate queens group that Tarkin took on years prior. And he threatens him, like, hey, Tarkin's on his way to finish his job of destroying your pirate group.
Wow.
And so that gets them to talk. They talk to each other inside Bisti, which is the Outer Rim language.
Which is what
Which Thrawn already speaks, but they don't know that, so they think they're getting one over him. So they tell him of a different location that they're supposed to be at. But Thrawn says, like, hey, we'll let you go if you also give us the information, gives them the deals, so you can avoid Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
And so, an ISB agent's also on his way. So basically, Thrawn tells him, "Hey, the ISB, here's the pirates. You can go take care of their hideout right now." It's like, oh, okay, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
So he's able to get exactly where they're going and find out where this pirate group's at. So he's able to take them out. So he goes back to Coruscant and to be judged, but they don't find anything to judge him on. He found the pirates' hideout. He got
The fuel back?
he got the fuel back, but he's still in Coruscant for trial, and it's just really stupid. And basically, he meets with the ISB agent he meets with is Yularen. Now, I know that name probably doesn't sound familiar to you.
Nope.
Probably the best place you'll know Yularen is he's from the Clone Wars. He's Anakin's Star Destroyer captain.
Okay.
Guy with the mustache. Yeah.
Got it, yeah.
He's also in Star Wars, A New Hope. He's one of the guys sitting at the table. So.
Yeah.
So we're gonna switch gears here now. We're gonna follow a character for a little bit. Her name is Arenda Price. She's actually one of the main villains in Star Wars Rebels as well, but she doesn't pop up until later on. So basically, long story short, she's from Lothal, which is where Rebels mostly takes place at. She's the governor, but not quite yet. She used to run Price Mining, which was an organization in Lothal for mining, but due to her mom being arrested for fraud, she's forced to give the mine up to the Empire.
Okay.
But she's able, in this deal, to go work with basically the current governor of Lothal. I don't remember his name. He's not important.
Yeah.
But basically, she's going out partying one week because it's Empire Day Ascension Week is what it's called, and so basically they're celebrating the birthday of the Empire, our 4th of July or whatnot. So.
Exactly.
At one of these balls, she actually she finds the governor she works for talking to basically Thrawn and Yularen, as well as Eli's there, and so basically that's where they first meet.
Yeah.
And she gets in trouble with another senator because he's trying to do basically the shady dealings between governors and Moss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The corrupt bureaucracy type stuff. And so she gets threatened. It's like, hey, he sprays a powder on her, which is drugs.
Yeah.
And if she gets caught with the drug, she'll be arrested immediately, 12 years in prison, etc. So you better deal with it, or I'm going to report you to the police. So she does it reluctantly because she's been trapped now. But then she gets a new job working, basically, customer service agent.
Wow.
Meanwhile, her friends that used to be in higher up, they actually offer her a new job with a new organization where she kind of... I don't know exactly what they do. It's never really clear, but they deal with information, stuff like that. She also starts picking up some martial arts training. And once again there, she runs into Thrawn because Thrawn and Yularen are going around to disinspecting because they think bodyguards are leaking stuff out to to some type of rebel group. Some guy, he's named Night Swang, so they're trying to track him down.
Yeah.
So they think that part of the leak is with the bodyguards, so they go to the places where they train bodyguards, and Price happens to be there. And Thrawn fights with the leader of the dojo, which is one of Price's friends.
Okay.
She's this weird cat lady right here.
Yeah.
Basically, Price keeps going around just basically collecting information, and she gets and once again she gets trapped by the senator that put drugs on her before. She has to now spy on her own company to give him information.
Wow.
And so
that guy's a real jerk.
That guy is a jerk. But so she meets with Thrawn to actually build up a strategy with him because he's a mastermind.
Yeah, and he's a good outside source for that.
Yeah, so Thrawn I love the Thrawn in the comic. He has green glasses. What a disguise! Green glasses. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically they meet at a diner, and I kind of like to think it's Dex's diner, but you know. Yeah, so they talk about just like, okay, this is what you can, basically, you got to turn this on him, give him false information, and basically get information from him that you can use against him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Price is like, okay, how can I thank you? It's like, okay, just get my, get Eli Vanto promoted because his promotion's long overdue.
Oh, that's nice that Thrawn's looking out for him.
Yeah. And I was like, that's it? She's like, that's it? That's easy enough. So. And so she eventually meets with Thrawn and basically shows him, like, here are some information I got from this other Grand Admiral or Grand Moff that you want to take out. You can destroy his career with this information. A lot of it's recordings, just conversations with her and him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like, okay, Thrawn's on here, Yularen's also on here, this is what they kind of want, and Tarkin's like, okay, that's it? Okay, cool. Okay, what do you want? And he's like, she was like, make me governor of the Thal. And Tarkin's like, okay, deal. And, yeah, so... Sad part is, though, that she has to stab a couple of her friends in the back just to build up her reputation as governor, because she's literally coming from just...
out of nowhere.
Yeah, so... basically, at this time as well, Thrawn's been going around doing different missions. Basically, Night Spawn's behind them all. Mm-hmm. One of them is that there's a land dispute because these miners want to get some ore that's on like some Native American type reserve for these people.
Okay.
And so they've been accusing of attacking each other. So Thrawn meets with both, and nobody there is happy to see him. The leader's like, "Hey, we're just living on our land, and they come over here, destroy our crops, attack us. So we chase them back to their lands, defending ourselves." Thrawn tells them, "Do not leave your land. Whatever you don't leave your land." So Thrawn basically stakes out in the field all night with Eli, and they actually watch people come in to steal the ore that's under their land at night. Yeah. This ore is not like for diamond where you have to dig really deep with a lot of heat and pressure. It's right underneath the surface, and it's very valuable stuff.
Okay.
So Thrawn basically was able to, just him and Eli are able to fight them and capture all the people are raiding. And some of them are actually, one of them is actually one of the guys that are one of the miners.
Really?
From like the Empire, so.
Okay.
So he calls down one of his best TIE fighter pilot, which is actually one of the guys that attacked him back at back on the Coruscant when he was a cadet. So kind of fun detail there, tied there.
Yeah.
He's now an ace pilot. And Thrawn has him do like the most outrageous military maneuver anyone has probably ever seen. So
does he pull it off all the time though, or
he pulls it off, and it's amazing. So what they do, Thrawn plans to destroy the ore vein that the people are after.
Yeah.
And they're destroying crops. So Thrawn. So basically, the miners had a locator that could read like 20 feet within range of the material, but Thrawn basically gives it to his TIE fighter. His TIE fighter has to fly low enough that he can get the reading and follow the vein, and then his ship up above will blast it, just destroying the ore.
That seems a little counterproductive to protecting the crops, but whatever.
No, he was not protecting the crops. He's preventing from future invasions.
Okay.
They can replant the crops.
That's true.
But the people are about, everybody's upset about these. A, he destroyed valuable resource, and B, destroyed farmland. So nobody's happy with him.
Yeah.
He goes back to Coruscant for another trial. But the Impel's like, we can't find you guilty of anything.
Well, that does seem like the most ridiculous solution that he could come up with, but whatever.
So Thrawn keeps on being promoted. He makes up the ranks, and eventually, when you keep doing things for Night Swan, basically go up against him. Basically, Thrawn, Sherlock Holmes, and Night Swan is his Moriarty.
Okay.
And then Eli is his Watson.
Yeah.
So he eventually Eli, basically once Governor Price gets put into place, Eli gets promoted and everybody's happy. And they get their next mission. Basically, Night Swan has built a rebellion.
Of course, there's always a rebellion.
There's always a rebellion. And basically they're going to be fighting against it. They all are given different missions to do. Basically, to start pushing this rebellion back. And Thrawn's higher command. Thrawn actually leaves his Star Destroyer. He's been put in charge of the Chimera. He leaves it to go watch his superior officer, to go watch him fail.
Wow, that's just vindictive.
So he watches them fail. Basically, Thrawn, he starts manipulating things in the background from the rebels' points because they're trying to escape from the Imperial's bombardment. And basically, these ships are taking off. He calls them like, "Hey, do you want to make a deal? I'm selling weapons." It's like, "Sure, we'll buy some weapons."
Yeah, that would do it.
And so they go take off. They get coordinates. And they go meet up with these pirates. Turns out they're not pirates. They're rebels.
Yeah.
The rebels Thrawn expected. And turns out their leader is Night Swan.
Oh, the one that they've been searching for all this time?
Yeah, so Eli meets up with Night Swan, and they have a conversation. Basically, and meanwhile, Thrawn's blowing things up in the hangar.
Because why not? You can always use some good explosions.
So Thrawn calls. Basically, they escape, and then now Thrawn is now going to be leading the firefight against these rebels. But the problem is that a lot of the ships have been heavily damaged.
Yeah. Well, considering the guy before him just failed, it makes sense.
Yeah. So this planet is Price actually sent her parents to work at the mines on this other planet that these rebels are on. So Price goes down dressed up, basically with a wig on and an ISB agent pretending to be her boyfriend to go rescue her parents from this military attack.
Okay.
But they're also kind of spies. They're also, well, she's there to save him. He's there to get info on the rebels. Which so they go into the mines. They go because he's claiming that he's trying to find some friends there, but it doesn't work. Meanwhile, Thrawn actually makes a meeting with Night Swan. They talk about like different perspectives. Thrawn actually gives him an invitation to go with the Chiss, and he refuses it. He decides he's going to die instead.
Always so dramatic.
They're always more dramatic. And basically, Thrawn reveals that he's planted to go scout out the Empire, making sure that they can whether be better as a friend or whether they be better as a friend or cannon fodder for an invading force, a dark force. We don't know. He doesn't describe what it is, but if you know anything about Legend Star Wars, everybody's thinking it's a race called the Yuuzhan Vong. I'll get into that probably in another video. But okay, so Thrawn goes back, eventually talking to him. They decide that they're going to split ways. Nice One's going to die, and this time Thrawn's also being questioned for treason because he went down and actually talked to the enemy face to face.
He just gets questioned so much, but he gets out of it.
This time it's by Yularen. He's also questioning because these Star Destroyers are spread out, so he's put some barges near them. But it's like, well, the Star Destroyers can't protect each other. Then they're vulnerable.
That's true.
So he's been questioned. So he has to explain his reasoning to Yularen, and he's like, "Okay, Yularen's okay. I'll buy. We'll see what you got." Meanwhile, back on the planet, the ISB agent has planted a bunch of charges. One chart, basically, click one to destroy the the shield generator that's
Yeah.
blocking everything. 2 to blow up basically the mine, to blow up the rebels. And then, but the thing is, the ISB agent doesn't want to rescue her parents, so she's forced to kill him because she won't rescue him.
Yeah.
And so she leaves him there in her parents' apartment.
Oh,
They take
wow.
off, but it turns out Yularen actually sent a stormtrooper squad to go pick her up at her apartment. So they're gonna find a dead SB agent there. So she's gonna be accused. She'll be basically a murderer then. She is a murderer because she killed him.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want the Empire to know that.
Well, yeah.
So she sets off Charge 2, blowing up the mine. But at the same time, the shield generator absolutely traps the explosion inside the shield, causing the
wow.
explosion to intensify inside the city, everything underneath it.
That makes
So
sense.
to basically protect her from not being a murderer, she killed even more.
Wow, that's intense.
Meanwhile, Thrawn in space, basically they get attacked by outside force. They get attacked by the rebels basically in their ships, and it turns out Thrawn actually had some extra fighters. So Thrawn actually hid inside the repair barges to repair the Star Destroyers. He hid he actually had extra firepower, extra ships and stuff like that to fight the rebels, and he was able to get them by surprise because they went straight for the lead ship.
Makes sense.
Meanwhile, so he got them surrounded immediately. So it was a victory on his part, but failure on the land because so many people died in the giant explosion.
Yeah.
Price does get a question, but there's no way to prove that she was the one pushing the button. She claims that him and the ISB agent were separated, and they were separated, and maybe he got cornered by the rebels, and so in a panic he did a giant explosion. The explosion, killing more people, destroying the house, and nobody could know for sure. But Thrawn has his suspicions, but there's no way he has proof, and he can't, go after an Imperial officer like that. So they go back, and they go back to Coruscant. Thrawn gets promoted to Grand Admiral. He asked Palpatine about the Death Star.
Really? How does
He was able to
know?
figure out the Death Star throughout the book. There's a little clues to this. I didn't mention that, but he's been watching shipping regulations of Dunium, and he notices that there's a huge black hole, basically, and like following shipping records. He also, one of the missions, he discovers Wookiee slaves.
Ah.
So, yeah, he gets promoted to Grand Admiral. He meets Darth Vader.
Well, makes sense.
And then it ends with...
Does Vader recognize him?
It's told from Palpatine's perspective.
Oh,
So
that's true.
at this point, it's never told from Thrawn or Vader. This one is told by Palpatine, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Eli Vanto, apparently he's gone missing.
Aw.
But it's revealed that he's actually on his way to the unknown regions. He's meeting up with the Chiss.
Oh.
He's joining the Chiss.
Okay, then.
And spoiler alert, the next book, Thrawn Alliances, I've started reading it. It does say Eli Vanto's gone missing. So
Yeah.
okay, and that's the story of Thrawn and how he became a Grand Admiral. I skipped a lot in that story just because there's so many of like Night Swan this, Night Swan that. Oh, this governor is rebelling, stuff like that.
Governors rebel all the time. Apparently.
Yeah. So we'll call it there. Real quickly, I want to give a shout out to the Smuggler's Cantina. They kind of inspired me to make my headcanon. I should have mentioned that in my Star Wars video. I failed to do that. I told them I'll do it now, so here it is. I fulfilled my promise. They told me not to do it, but I wanted to anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
Just that it sounds really interesting story, and I'm not surprised Thrawn was able to see so many of those traps coming. Cause
The only problem I have with this book, it's a great book. It's my favorite in Disney's canon, and that's why I did it first. This one first.
Yeah.
Hence why the notifications popping up for the future of you guys. But yeah, that's kind of the problem I have with it. It's so tied into Rebels. especially the later part of Rebels, which is, in my opinion, is not that good. We'll get into more Rebels later on.
I'm sure.
But I just kind of wish it was able to stand more on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Zahn, he's a great author that likes tying things together, but yeah, it's just my frustration with it. Okay, so with that said, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what you think of Thrawn, and in the future tell me on ways I can improve. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.